Hey everybody, um, my name is Stephen Land, and this message is for all of my family and friends. Um, since I was 13 years old, I have been writing a book called The Race to Self-Identity. It's an autobiography of my life and who I am and where I've come from. Um, in my book, I talk about situations that I've been in, um, and things that I've been through, and how I have come to where I am now in my life and how these things have affected me. Um, so this message is to give a little, I guess, summary of the book and explain kind of some of the things that I've been through. When I was 6 years old, I was raped for the first time, and most of my family does not know that, and the majority of my friends do not know that. I was raped by this person for about 3 years, and then my family moved, and that person wasn't able to hurt me anymore. My family took in a lot of people um, throughout my life. We always, there's been many people who've gone in and out of my house. We call some of them our adopted siblings, and three of them, four of them actually, one of them molested and raped two of us, one me and one of my adopted siblings, quite often. And we told my parents about it when we were like 15, 16 years old. And it started happening when we were 10. And it happened on and off through all of those years. And it's really hard because I trusted these people, and I got to the point where I wouldn't take my shirt off in front of my family or any of my friends because I assumed that they were going to do the same thing to me that everyone else was doing, or that other people have done before. But they're not they're not the only ones. I'm kind of going through the chapters that I've written already, and um, one of my family members lived with us for a little while, and he was heavy on drugs all of the time. And one night he was really drugged up, and we shared a room, and he started touching me while I was sleeping. And I was on the top bunk and he was on the bottom, and I pushed him, and he fell and hit the desk, and there was a loud crash, and the family came down to see what was going on. They saw him on the floor, and they saw me sitting up, and I told them that he was just really drugged up and he was having a bad dream and he started like tossing things and throwing things, but they don't know, you guys don't know, that wasn't the case, that I was trying to protect him instead of trying to protect myself by telling you guys that this is the same person that did stuff to me in a hotel room while his wife was sleeping in the next bed. We were driving to Texas for my great grandma's funeral, and he touched me while I was sleeping. And during all this time, my dad kept getting sick, getting hurt, and I didn't want to tell my family the stuff that was going on because I didn't want them to have to deal with even more because my dad was sick, and I didn't want them to have to deal with my issues on top of trying to figure out how we were going to survive and how we're going to make it every month because my dad wasn't getting any kind of money from the state or from work. His insurance cut him off. Things were really hard for all of us. I didn't want to put more pressure on my family or my siblings. My parents were fighting because my dad wanted to move to Texas. And he wanted to move because it could have helped him get better. And on top of all of that stuff, I didn't want to put all of this on them. And then, a little later, my godfather molested me, and he kept telling me that he was in love with me and all of this stuff, and I didn't know how to fight back because I've never been able to fight back before. And after a couple years of him doing that, he went to the pastor of our church and my dad and told him what he was doing, and he stepped down from being a minister in the church. And my my dad and my mom sat down with me, and I kept telling him that it was nothing, that I was okay, but I wasn't okay. I'm still not okay. It's really hard trying to live every day without being scared of someone trying to hurt me. When I was at NAU, I started going to counseling 3 times a week, and they kept blaming everything on my parents, telling me that if my parents paid more attention to me and my siblings instead of bringing more people into the house when they couldn't even take care of us, that none of this would have happened. And so I started blaming my parents, and I didn't want to go home. And And then I got fed up with them blaming my family, and I stopped going to counseling. And I got really sick, and I lost 60 pounds in 2 days. And the doctors thought that I had leukemia, so they were testing me for leukemia, and I dropped out of school, and I went home, and the doctors ended up telling me that I didn't have anything and that I just had a virus in my stomach that was caused from stress that was eating away the lining of my stomach and eating away the food and stuff before I could digest it. And that's why I lost so much weight. And that's why I was bleeding from almost every area that you could bleed from. And once I started getting better, I decided that I was going to go back to school, but I didn't want to go to NAU because my fraternity brothers thought that I left because of them, and I couldn't face them because I didn't want to tell them the truth of what was going on. And so I applied to other schools, and I got accepted to Southern Oregon University, where I'm at now. And 3 months after I was here, I was walking to Albertsons, and you have to go over a little bridge overpass that goes over the train tracks. And it was about a week before, or a week or two before we were going home for Christmas break, and a guy came up to me and asked me for directions, and another guy came up behind me and covered my eyes and my mouth, and they pulled me under the train track, or under the bridge by the train tracks, and they both raped me. I went home afterwards, and I called Cody, who was one of my best friends, and I told my RA, Maggie, and I couldn't tell my parents. I couldn't tell anyone else. I didn't. There's still a lot going on with my family, and I didn't want to put anything else on them. So I just held all of it inside because I didn't want anyone to know. I thought by coming to Oregon that was all of that kind of stuff would just go away, and I wouldn't have to deal with any of that anymore. And I knew if I told my parents, it'd make me go home. But I didn't want to go home. Through all of this, I struggled to figure out who I am. I struggled to figure out why all of these things are happening to me, and if they knew something that I didn't know about myself. And I questioned my sexuality. I questioned living, and had glimpses of what a good life was. And I dated girls through elementary school and high school, and I fell in love a couple times, and my family and most of my friends don't know this, but there's a girl, Nicole, who I met when I was in fifth grade. She moved in next door, and we were like best friends. We would stay up night after night and talk from our windows. She lived downstairs and I lived upstairs, next door to each other, and we were able to see each other from our windows when we looked over the fence. And we stayed up night after night and talked about life and about what we wanted for ourselves. And she was the first person that I told any of this to. And when we were 12 years old, we made a promise to each other that if we graduated high school and neither one of us were in a relationship, that we were going to get married. And in October, her and I were talking in October of um, 2006. Her and I were talking, and I was dating Susely at the time. And we we talked about getting engaged, and when Susely and I broke up, Nicole and I, or Nicole and Brad broke up as well around the same time. And Nicole and I talked on the phone, and I told her why Susely and I broke up, and she told me why her and Brad broke up, and we just thought that it was perfect timing. And we agreed that in February of 2007, on Valentine's Day, that we were going to make our engagement official. And Nicole passed away January 1st. And it was really, really hard for me. Some people didn't understand why it was so hard. I think it was a little bit harder for me because there, there was no pictures of her and I together. And I never got to say goodbye. And after she passed away, I told myself that I don't know if I could ever fall in love with a girl again. When I was 12 years old, I was very confused with my life and who I was and what I wanted. And I started hanging out with gay guys. And I was curious to see if that's who I was, if that was who I was supposed to be. I was raised in church and always told that it was wrong to be gay and that I'd go to hell. So I was scared. I prayed every day that God would take any thought of being gay out of my mind, and I prayed that I would never, that no one in my family would ever have to deal with what I dealt with. And I prayed that God would kill me if I turned out to be gay. And I prayed the same thing over and over and over again for about 8 or 9 years. And I had my first boyfriend when I was 13. He was older than I was. And we were together for about 2 years. And nobody knew. Kept it all a secret. And I didn't really want anyone to know because I was trying to figure out myself. I didn't want people to assume anything. So I didn't say anything to anybody about it. And I had a few other guys that I would sneak them into the house, and or I would go spend the night with them, and we were one of us we were together for a little while, but I wouldn't call him a boyfriend. And then after Nicole passed away, I went to Australia for an international track meet, and I met one of my best friends, and we were so compatible and we were so close. And the 14 days that we were on this trip, we learned so much about each other, and I told him about all these things that have happened to me, and I was able to trust people. I was able to trust him, and I was able to start trusting other people, and he made me learn that there are good people in the world. And we ended up dating on and off for about 3 years. And we're still best friends to this day. And I still struggle all of the time. And the reason I titled the book that I'm writing The Race to Self-Identity is because I ran track and field for about 13 years, and until I got kicked off the team here at SOU. Um, by the way, that coach got fired, so I'm going to be going out for the team again this year and getting back into track. But while running allowed me to keep everything internalized, and I was able to not think about the things that were happening to me, and I was able to run. Metaphorically, I was running to run from the things that I was scared of. I was scared to be alone, still scared to be alone, but I'm living in a studio apartment, trying to break that. Scared to walk by myself, scared to go into an empty room without any kind of things that are mine in it. But running allowed me to face those fears. Running allowed me to forget about all of my troubles and focus on getting to the end. So if I could just make it past the finish line, I wouldn't have to deal with any of it anymore. The pain would go away. So I ran and ran and ran. And after I got injured, or not injured, after I got kicked off the team here at SOU, I decided to go into politics, and I became the athletic senator. And my goal for becoming the athletic senator was to get the track coach fired. And didn't happen under that time or during that time. And then the next year I became the student body president, and I met Blaine, who was my next boyfriend. And Blaine taught me not to be afraid of life and not to be afraid of who I am. So I hate who I am. I hate it because I know that my family isn't going to accept it. I hate it because I know the world doesn't accept it. And I hate it because I know that people are going to blame the things that I've been through on me being this way. It doesn't have anything to do with it. Because I didn't choose this life for me. About a year ago, I asked my dad, after a sermon that he preached, what if being gay is a sin, why would God create hermaphrodites? People who are born with both sexes or both body parts. I was like, are they supposed to be with people that are born that way as well? Are they supposed to choose a man or a woman for themselves to be and then be with the opposite sex for the rest of their life? Because I don't understand why God would create people in that way if he didn't approve of it. Or if he didn't love the people anyways. He didn't have an answer. He said he didn't know. And after that, I didn't really know what to do. At that moment, I wanted to tell my dad that I'm that way. I don't have both body parts, but part of me feels like I'm not all what I assume to be outside from my skin. But I was too scared. And I'm still scared because I don't want to lose my family and I don't want to lose my friends just because of who I am. And I fear that that's what's going to happen. Last year, while I was a student body president, I got sent all over the United States to go to leadership conferences and to lobby and to rally. And I went to a conference called Leadership. And they made us truly think about what we wanted for the rest of our lives and how we wanted to help the world. And for me, it was simple. I just wanted to share my story and change people's lives and make people love. There's so much hate in the world, and people assume too many things. People assume that men don't get raped. People assume that if men are raped, it's because they're gay. And it's not true. People also assume that if you're raped, that you're bound to rape someone else. I would never hurt someone the way that I would been hurt. I would never wish anything like that on anybody. No one deserves anything like that. So at the leadership conference, one of the leaders was trying to break the ice with everybody in the group, and she's like, I want somebody to tell the group something that they don't usually tell people. My heart started beating fast. I knew that that was my chance. That was my chance to let things out. So I raised my hand and I said that I was a survivor of sexual assault. That's it. That's all I had to say. And then the next person raised their hand, another guy, and he said he was a survivor of sexual assault as well and he's never told anybody in his life. But because I was brave enough to speak up, I gave him the courage. And later that night, we had a chance to sit down and talk with a bunch of people that was there at the conference. And there was about four other guys who came up to me and said that they were a survivor. And they wouldn't be brave enough to tell anyone if it wasn't for me. And they started asking me questions about what happened. I started going in more detail with them. They started asking me if it has affected my sexuality, and I told them no. It didn't affect my sexuality because who I am sexually has nothing to do with the things that I've done in my life or the things that have happened to me in my life. Who I am sexually, I am because that's how that I was born that way. I was created the way I am, and some people assume that this life is a choice, and they assume that everything that happens for a reason, and I believe that. I believe that everything happens for a reason. I've tried my best to take the best out of everything that I have ever been through. Because I believe that if I wasn't raped or molested, that I probably wouldn't have started running. Because I ran to run away from it. And if I wouldn't have started running, I probably wouldn't have gone to college. Because I went to NAU because of track and field. And then I came to SOU because of track and field. And I got into politics because of track and field because I was upset for getting kicked off of the track team. And my goals and aspirations for my life to become an ambassador or diplomat, I wouldn't have been able to realize those things if everything before didn't happen. So my first major was athletic training and physical therapy, and politics is far from that. And I smile every single day that I can wake up and breathe and not have to deal with the pain. I smile every day so that I can make someone else smile. Even if my day is the worst day in the world, I tell people that you can't be truly happy until you're happy with yourself. And no one in this world can make you happy until you're happy with yourself. And I've tried so hard to find love. I've tried so hard to force myself to love a woman. I've tried so hard to make myself love a man. Because I just wanted someone to love me instead of hurt me for once. But I realized that no one could love me until I loved myself and loved who I am. And it's hard for me to love who I am when I know that other people won't love me the way that I am. Especially people that I care about and love. People, my family, friends. It's hard. And I want people to know that no matter what happens in your life, no matter what you go through, no matter how hard life is, things do get better. There's always someone else there to help you. There's always someone else who can benefit from your story. And it's not about pride, it's not about letting people feel bad for you. I don't want people to feel bad for me. I want people to be happy that I'm happy. Because for once in my life, I'm finally happy. Finally happy with who I am where I'm at in life, and I couldn't have done it without the battles. Life isn't easy. No one said life's going to be easy. But you have to make life what you want it. It's not going to be handed to you on a silver platter. It's not going to just happen for you. If you don't work at it, it's not going to work for you. In my book, I have. It's not. It's definitely not done. But it's getting there. I have things in here about people that I've fallen in love with but didn't fall in love with me. People that hurt me. People that have loved me but I didn't love them. People who have gone in and out of my life. People that I've had flings with. And I know this makes it a lot harder, especially for my parents and my family to watch, because I've always told myself that I wasn't going to have sex until marriage. But that was ruined when I was 6 years old. I always thought that God hated me. I always thought that no matter how many times I sang in church, no matter how many pages I read in the Bible, no matter how many times I went to church, that God hated me because I was always taught not to have sex before marriage. But it happened for me even before I learned that I wasn't supposed to do that. Not that I wanted it, but it happened. And I always thought he hated me because I didn't know how to fight. And it seemed like the only time that I prayed was to pray for him to forgive me for letting those things happen to me. I blamed myself. I blamed I blamed myself for everything that happened to me. Even though I couldn't have controlled any of that. And I always thought that God hated me because I was always taught my whole life that if you're gay, you're going to hell. You're an abomination. I don't believe it. Because I wouldn't I wouldn't be who I am without it. Without any of that happening. I wouldn't love so hard without any of that happening. I wouldn't have prayed so hard without any of that happening. And I don't think God would have let any of that happen. And I don't think he would have I don't think he would have made me this way if he didn't love me or if he didn't want me to be this way. And I don't want my family or my friends to hate me. I don't want my family or friends to think less of me. But I'm not going to change who I am for anyone. And I'm not going to compromise my life because someone doesn't agree with it. And I feel like I can do great things. And I can touch so many people's lives with my love and with my story and with the things that I've been through. Don't get me wrong, I love God with all my heart, and I thank God for everything that He has ever done for me. I thank God for the family that He's given me. Thank God every day for giving me food to eat, putting a roof over my head, allowing me to be healthy. I don't ask God to give me things. I don't ask Him to make ways for me because I've never learned to fight, and I want to fight for the things that I get in my life. I'm in my 5th year of college and I haven't graduated yet. I'm not going to graduate this year. It doesn't matter how long it takes me, I'm going to fight for it. I don't want things handed to me. I don't want God to make ways for things to just happen. I want to work for them. So I don't ask God for things, but I thank Him for the things that He has given me. And I thank Him for the love that He has, and the mercy and the grace. I thank Him for not giving up on me. I don't want people to assume that I am conforming my life because I don't want to fight to not be gay anymore. But I'm going to continue to fight so that people who are in the same position as me can be loved, can feel appreciated and accepted. And I'm going to fight to make sure that people aren't dying and that people aren't starving or put on the streets because their family doesn't agree with their lifestyle. And I want people to know that no matter what you do or how you feel about me, I will love you regardless. And I will not think differently of you. And I hope that people can see that just as God loves everyone, that they should love everyone, regardless of how they feel about the person, regardless of what they think about the person. Love is the greatest gift of all. And without love, there's nothing. If you can't show love to those who are furthest away from you, how can you love those who are closest to you? You don't have to agree with everything that the person does. You don't have to agree with every fraction of anyone's life. But you must love. This world cannot take any more hate. I cannot take any more hate. And I have faith that in the end, things will work out the way they are supposed to. And in the end, the life that I've lived will not go unheard of. And the life that I've lived will live on. I will not stop sharing my story. I will not stop being who I am. And if I have to break the notion of hate by myself, I will do it by myself. But I know that there are plenty of people out there who are willing to fight with me. And I know that I'm supported and loved by a lot of people. And I don't regret anything in my life that I've done. There's not one thing that I would go back and change. Because for me, everything that has happened has brought me this far. I have traveled the world. I have been in places with prestigious people. I've talked with presidents, ambassadors. I've sat down with senators, representatives, governors, mayors. But I've also walked hand in hand with people who are homeless. I've fed the homeless, and I'll continue to do all of those things regardless of how people feel. And I'll continue to do all of those things regardless of where life takes me and I will make the most out of every opportunity that I get. And I hope that everyone can see that this is only a piece of who I am. Everything else that you know about me is the same. The way I love, my laughter, my smile, my hope, my dreams, my dignity, my courage, my love for people, my ability to walk into a room and share the warmth of my heart with everyone, my ability to make someone's day turn around with just a smile. Me being a clean freak is still the same. Loving to cook and clean. I'm the same person. You just know now one more aspect of who I am. And I hope you can take that and love that just as much as you love every other aspect of me. I'm hoping to have my book published um, before I run for political office. My goal is to run for political office in 2014, but I may push that goal back so that I can focus on finishing my book in detail the way that I want to, and making sure that the things that are in my book are the most important things. And I may push my timeline back a little bit so that I can learn more about myself and who I am. And so I can focus on me. Because I've spent so much of my life focusing on everyone else that I have forgotten about me. And I need to make up that time. But either way, I hope to have my book published before I run for office. As of right now, it's 2014, but that could potentially end up being 2018. And from there, changing the world with my love and hopefully changing the hearts of America and the world with my story. This is my race to self-identity. My name is Stephen Land.